These are more like normative questions from a policy standpoint, right? As we look at the political landscape now, what are some of the major things that people are talking about with education? Like, what were some of the big themes from this election cycle about education?
Common Core.
Common Core. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Just whether it's actually beneficial to the majority of Americans.
Are there like really topical issues?
Free tuition.
Free tuition. Can you say a little bit more about that? Sorry, I didn't get your name again. Claire. And your name? Andrew. Okay, Andrew.
Well, the Democrats want tuition-free college to open up opportunities to the lower income class.
Right. And yeah, and that's something that's very interesting. And so like we're gonna dive into that question. So when we look at the syllabus, you'll see that should college be free, right? And the temptation is to say, well, yeah, of course, college should be free. But let's think about this, right? Who is going to college? Like just now, who's going to college now? Primarily, when we look at this graph.
That's the brightest.
Right, the best and the brightest, right? And then to your point, it could be that income and ability are correlated, right? And so they have the resources. So if we make college free, who is benefiting differentially from this?
Bottom quartile would be, that would be to their advantage. It would help mitigate that resource.
Okay.
Well,
So that's one point. So like one point is that you're going to get this. You can think about this as a resource constraint, like some budget constraint that's stopping somebody from a low income from going to college, right?
Yeah.
What's happening at the top end? Well, if college were free, let's just say college were free and the government had this magical pot of money that they were just drawing it from, right? These guys, college is not free in this world. I didn't mean that as a snide remark. These guys are currently paying for it, right? What's going to happen when college is free? Everyone's going to go, and they're not paying for it. So if we look at the relative gap between the two groups, so go ahead.
I was going to say it's the dilution of the product, because if everyone's doing it, then like it's like a Harvard degree. If like suddenly it goes from having like only 100,000 people in the history of the world have it to like being 1 million, it goes down a bit. And then also when it comes to like if you have free tuition, those people at the bottom level with low income, the only way that they can do it is if they actually got high test scores. Whereas with this, it would help folks with none of that sort of potential shown in the test scores. So it would be just dumping up. But then it'd be the dilution, as I said.
Okay, so there are 2 points you said. One you said is the dilution of quality, and that's a very interesting point. I have a research paper with a colleague from the Wharton School where we look at exactly that issue. So if you look at a lot of elite schools, they have not expanded over time. So in 1975, Yale matriculated 1,340 students, right? In 2015, Yale matriculated 1,360 students. So you had an additional 20 students over about 40 years, right? And at the same time, too, the number of students applying to Yale tripled from 10,000 to 30,000. And we're just like, wow, this is a huge puzzle, right? And one of the possible explanations could be like, do they not want to dilute the quality? We'll get into that. We're actually going to have an assignment on that. The thing that I wanted to get at with this is, if we make college completely free, you have folks, in a sense, we're going to be subsidizing rich people, right? Because you have, let's say, I'm a professor at Clemson. I can afford to send my child to Clemson. Now college is free. That's $22,000 that I get to keep in my pocket. That's $22,000 that a low-income family too gets to keep into their pocket. And so you get this blanket policy that's not targeting anyone in particular. And so it will bring up the bottom, but it's also going to push at the top. And so the overall effect on inequality might be ambiguous, right? If it pulls up the bottom by more than it pushes up the top, then inequality might reduce. But you could also have a situation which inequality can increase by making college free. This is like a very active area of research in the economics of education, and certainly something that we're going to dig into in a bit more detail. So, all right. I want to finish up with this graph in terms of the motivating figures. So what this shows is the high school graduation rates across the United States, and this is color-coded. So the more blue an area is, the higher the percentage of high school students that graduate, right? And so what we can see is that like Texas is like an all-star, right? Like most areas are like around 95%. And then we also see too in the Northeast and some of the Midwest are pretty amazing too. But in like these states like Nevada and Arizona and others, and also this Panhandle area down south too. I think this is us here. And then we're not doing as hot. We're more like in the 75% range, right? And so there's a lot of, again, this keyword heterogeneity. There's a lot of differences across space, right? And so the question too is like, what is driving this heterogeneity in the probability of completing high school? So these are very fascinating questions. So one way to think about this is we observe these differences in high school completion rates across space in the United States. We also observe that folks who have a college education tend to earn more money, right? And so when we think about inequality within this context, like it could be that education is one of these levers. And so how do we think about policies that are going to move the needle on this, right? And a very contentious policies are national policies, right? Because some states feel as if we should have control over education policy, right? And one could make that argument because if you look across here, the issues are very different. If you implement some policy to increase graduation rates in Texas, it's like, well, graduation rates are already close to 95%. Are you just throwing money to catch the wind? Whereas it might be a lot more effective in, say, Alaska. And so that's going to be another theme of this course, like trying to understand like issues of heterogeneity too. So we go until 12:15. Let's just take a quick 5-minute break. So if you need to go to the bathroom or stretch or check your Facebook or something like that, you can do that. And then you can also, and this will be a common feature of my classes too. We'll have like a 5-minute break because I think an hour and 15 minutes is like very long. The other thing too that I want to encourage you to do is like just get to know people in the course. When we talk about the syllabus, I'll talk about some of the work related things as well too. So let's take a 5-minute break. We'll reconvene at 11:46.